She is. And this, I go to doctor in Greenville, so I didn't know if I was gonna get out in time and make it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you made it.
Since my appointment was at 8:30, I was like one of the first people there.
Oh, that's good. That always makes
I
a
was out by
difference.
9.
The reason you're usually behind is because people don't come on time, and then it makes everybody else.
I was a little early, hoping I can get in early.
Yeah.
When I got there at 8:15, she called me back at 8:20. I'm definitely not gonna be here.
Miss Murphy, if we don't miss the group on by just let me know, we'll close the door.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I just haven't heard another word
yeah.
from weeks ago, so.
Okay.
That's great. I don't miss this stuff.
Right.
I was tired from Greenville. I don't like missing stuff.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. It's a minute before, but not even really. I wanted to go over test one, not in its entirety, but what I did is I looked over, whenever y'all take a test, it shows me by question, like most missed questions. And I told y'all I go back and review some of the questions that are most missed, and I look at if it was like a common answer, that like the answer was supposed to be C, and a lot of y'all put B. So I go back and look at that, and I look at why I think you put B. And if the question, if the wording looks a little funky, or if I feel like there was something wrong with the question, I'll give either partial credit or full credit. And so there were a couple of questions that I have gone back. Number 2 was a commonly missed question. Brain pruning opens many windows of opportunity for preschoolers. Is that true or false? False. It's false. Why? Where does brain pruning mostly occur?
Infancy?
No. What comes after infancy? Toddlers. Brain pruning mostly occurs in toddlers. So that's why that one was false, but I believe number 2 was one that I gave some partial credit for. Number 6, preschoolers' ability to manipulate objects with their hands is adult-like. Many of y'all said that that was true, and it's actually still false. It is more adult-like than what it was before, but it's still not adult-like. Have you ever seen a preschooler hold a pencil?
Yeah, I do a lot of this.
Or like way up here, or like this, or like it's not adult-like. They don't have the ability just yet. So it's not adult-like. Number 9, this one I did add some possible points back. I made that one only worth half a point because it was kind of ambiguous, but some of you did get it right. Games that prompt children to move their bodies in various directions can, I think it's something about teaching cause and effect. And that was not the best answer, that cause and effect is the part that makes it wrong. But I can see why some of you thought that, and so that's why I only made that one worth half a point. But then going down, the next most commonly missed was number 38. Yes. When helping with household chores, preschool children, I'll have to click it. Sorry. And this is the edit, like this is my version when I look at it this way. So I can't pull it up now unless I pull up one of y'all's tests, and I don't want to show anybody else's test. So preschoolers, when helping with household chores, I'm only going to do a few more. It's okay. Thank you, though. When helping with household chores, preschool children enjoy doing tasks. Yes, they do. They very much do enjoy helping. But they said that the test said that this one was incorrect, and I didn't feel like that was true. Most preschool children really do enjoy helping, especially if you've instilled that in part of the home or part of the classroom. So if you put that, you got full credit.
Quick question. When the check mark is beside it in black, what would you?
It means that you got credit.
Okay.
It means that you put that was the answer, and originally it got marked wrong.
Okay.
And then I went back, see right here, it says that it's incorrect.
Mhm.
It says that it's incorrect, but I gave you 100% points for that one
Okay.
if you put A, because they do. In fact, most preschool children do enjoy doing tasks. Often do tasks on the parent's schedule. Yes, that is the best answer. Because when I ask a preschooler to do something, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna jump and do it. It's that older school age child that's gonna make you wait on their time, and the teenager. Need praise for tasks they have done well. I don't necessarily think need praise. So some people did put C, need praise for tasks they have done well. They don't need praise, but what do we know, especially those of you that are in child guidance, or if you've got a partner or a friend, if you don't praise them for things that you want them to keep doing, what's going to happen? They're not going to do it. So that's why I gave some partial credit. I gave you 90% if you got that one, if you chose that one. And then need to do tasks that are scaled to their size and abilities. The answer, the chest said this one was incorrect, but I think that is not necessarily always true either, because we've talked about initiative versus guilt, right?
Mhm.
And we said if they have a lot of initiative, what are they going to want to do?
They want stuff by themselves.
They're going to want to try a whole bunch of stuff by themselves. And some of the stuff might not be stuff that's exactly for a preschooler. But if we can support them in trying new things, that's not necessarily wrong, right? So I gave 100% for that one as well. So I just feel like number 38 was just not a great question.
I still got that one wrong.
Well, what the hell did you put, Shug?
I put.
Did you put F?
I
Like what?
see. It still says wrong.
It says you only got 90%.
Look on the side where it says mark
Not that
blank
one.
out of blank incorrect, like it'll
Need
tell
to
you.
do
Like,
tasks that are scaled to their size and ability.
Mark 2 out of 2. You're good. You got 90% of that one. All right. So now that was 38. $39.
she, yeah, she made it right. Cause I said the correct answer, the joint task, which is, what I should say. But they would
Which of the following statements is true concerning emotional development in preschoolers? Let's talk about these which of the following types of questions for just a second. What number, honey? It's 39. Which of the following statements? So that means that it's going to give you 4 choices. And if it says which of the following is true, you're going to find the one that is right. Some of these that say which of the following are true except, when it says except, you're finding the one that is wrong or false. So these questions tend to like trip y'all up a little bit. So I want y'all to pay attention to that. But it says which of the following is true concerning emotional development of preschoolers. Preschool children show fewer attachment behaviors than do toddlers. That is the best answer. They're not as attached or needing some attachment. But we talked about how sometimes they crave just a little bit of attachment and they'll say, Mama, can you button my button? Can you let somebody in? Mama, can you button my button? Knowing good and well they can button their button, right? They just need a little bit of attachment, right? They're not as secure and glued to the side like a toddler or an infant.
I'm mad because I got it wrong.
Well, I'm sorry, as can be. In times of stress, preschool children may try to reject feelings of attachment. They're not going to reject attachment. They're going to crave attachment. Somebody pass it, Deanna. Thank you. Preschoolers seek contact or approval more than help in achieving a goal. That is incorrect, but I gave 50% credit here because they are going to seek you to just like be near them when they're doing something, but they might not necessarily always just seek approval, but some kids are going to seek more approval than others. So that's why I gave some partial credit to that. And then that one was incorrect. Those of you that are just coming in, we're going over some of the most missed questions in the test. I think some people have been taking some notes, so if y'all want to see them after class. But I went back in and I have given some partial credit to some of the most missed questions. All right, let's talk about mental images. Mental images are, that was the question, and the answer choices were illogical, private and internalized, exact copies of real objects and experiences, and shared with everyone. Most of y'all put C, exact copies of real objects and experiences. And that's actually not correct. But I want to talk about mental images and so help you understand why. So everybody, I want you to close your eyes and visualize something. I'm going to tell you what to visualize in just a second. We already did this. You don't have to do it. Close your eyes and visualize a pizza. Pizza. All right. Now open your eyes. Tell me what you visualized.
Papa John's.
Somebody, like one at a time.
Papa John's.
You visualize Papa
Stuffed
John's.
crust.
Oh, good God, that's a bougie pizza. Papa John's stuff. Cool child.
That's what I
Okay.
get.
New York pizza.
New York. That's fucking from New York. Back row. Yes, Alexis.
A deep dish,
Oh.
square pizza,
Oh.
Girl, that's
cheese
all in your
only,
mind.
no pepperoni.
She's in there
Okay.
with cheese
Cheese
on.
on.
So what am I getting at here?
Everybody had a different version.
It is based on your private and internalized experience. So if I pictured Pizza Villa, because I worked at Pizza Villa in high school, if y'all aren't from Kinston, I'm sorry, you don't know what that is, but it is some good pizza. With pizza crackers, it's like bread that you dip in ranch. It's just so great for you. But it's so good. But that's what I visualize when I visualize pizza. I also visualize the pizzas that are square Tostinos that used to be $1 a pizza and now they're not. I visualize those because I like to, at the end of the month, get that as the family night pizza and then add cheese and pepperoni, and that's like a staple. So I visualize both of those pizza because I still think it's good. That was like a childhood favorite. That was like daycare pizza. I know you don't say daycare, but that was daycare pizza to me. It was real good. But mental images are based on your what? Private experiences. And it's not an exact replica for a child. Like we all visualized, you visualized a very bougie, high-class pizza as if the shoe fits. But a child is not going to always visualize that exact replica. It's going to look something like that. That's how our brain works, is it works in storing images. So that one didn't necessarily get partial credit, but I wanted to explain it. And then the last one was number 41. Preschool children are egocentric because somebody tell me what egocentric means. This what? I, me, my is all about them. Is it because they are selfish? No. It's because that's all that they can think about. They can't think outside of their circle of who they are. So, it's not because they're self-centered. Self-centered means like they're selfish. They're not self-centered, but I gave 50% here because you could take that two different ways. You could take that they only think about the thing that we've said. So I gave 50% there. Do not care how others feel. That's not true. So that's not necessarily what a preschooler thinks. Believe everyone else thinks as they do. Yes, that's the best answer. They believe that. Remember that example a few questions down? It was the little girl was playing with her babysitter and she was like, hey, let's play house. And they're coming to crawl under the table, and the babysitter's like, I can't, the table's too small. And so the little girl crawls under the table, and she was like, it's not small, I fit. That's egocentrism. It's not being selfish. It's that she fits, so you should fit. It's because she's thinking about things from her perspective only. They can't think about it somebody else. It's not because they're being ugly or they don't care. And use collective monologue. Collective monologue is like talking to like when they're playing with something and they're talking back and forth to like, oh, hey, baby. And then they pretend to be the baby's voice. Oh, hey, mommy. Like they do that collective back and forth monologue.
That was a good way to explain. I did not think about it like that.
Collective monologue?
When you were like talking about how she understood like what I fit, so you should fit also, like I didn't think about it like that.
Oh, really? So that's the test. There were a couple of other questions that I'm going to go back and look at to increase just a little bit more. But I haven't done that yet. So. All right, chapter 17. So now we're talking about school age. How old are school agers?
5 to
6 to 12. 12. What happens after 12? And they're what? They're called adolescents. But what do they hit? Puberty. Physical development. What are we talking about? That's one of our days. What are we talking about when we talk?
Actual movement.
Movement. What kinds of two kinds of movement?
Fine
and
gross.
Gross. Which one is focusing on small movements? Fine. And which one focuses on gross? Or what's an example of gross? Running, jumping, kicking. So think about school-age children. What were some of your favorite things to do as a school ager when it comes to being physically active?
Playing red light, green light.
Oh my God.
Kickball,
Yeah.
dodgeball.
Yes.
What'd you
We used to
say?
play it all the time.
Jump rope,
Red Rover.
Red Rover.
Roller
That game is so dangerous.
It's a little dangerous.
Everybody stands in a
Oh,
line.
man.
And the person that called us say,
Red Rover.
Red Rover.
Or somebody that tries to like knock people out.
Red light. They have to run
Red
and
light,
try to
green light.
break through the.
So do you see how all of these games that we listed have a little bit more of like an organized structure to them? They got rules to follow. Could you imagine if you tried to play dodgeball with a preschool group? Slightly comical, but it would be a little chaotic, right? So we have to understand that school agers can move more. Their reaction time is probably going to increase, meaning that they are less clumsy. They are more accurate when it comes to catching balls and moving. And we understand that they can also socially interact with each other a little bit more. So when you get to that school age group, physical activity looks a little bit different. All right, so maturation of organs. That just means the maturing of organs. I did do some blanks on your PowerPoint. You can fill them in as we go. Yours does not have blanks because you'll focus on that. And so the brain growth, it does slow dramatically, and the brain becomes much more specialized. What do we mean when we say the brain becomes more specialized? Different parts of our brain do what? Who's got a book? Go ahead. What?
Have different stimuli
They respond to different stimuli.
and they react different. Have different responses.
Different responses, absolutely. It was chapter 2. Remember that colorful picture? Look right here. How did I do that? Page 42. We talked about the different colorful pictures of the brain and the different parts. And we said that the temporal lobe, which is like this, well, I can't touch it, but it's like back here. The temporal lobe is your hearing, smelling, memory, and speech. So each part of our brain specializes in a certain field. It's not minding everybody else's business. It lets this part do its job because it specializes in it. This part of the brain is better at doing this job than this part of the brain. So it's like letting everybody else do their part. It specializes in it. So if you're not familiar with what parts of the brain do what, it's actually, to me, it's really intriguing. And I'm going to get through this part without crying, but I know that y'all have seen I've acted a little bit differently recently. My mother-in-law this past month has been, for lack of a better term, hell, and was diagnosed with some things and then had some really small strokes and then big strokes. And the small strokes were falling into what the doctor called rainfall areas, meaning it's like the gutter areas of our brain that our brain doesn't necessarily use all the time. So she was having these little mini strokes and nobody knew until they did an MRI and a CAT scan. And then she had one big stroke, and that big stroke affected this side of her frontal lobe. No, it affected this side of her frontal lobe. And so then what happened?
So she doesn't have functions in that area.
Not in this area, because our brain does an opposite thing. That controls this side of the body. So if the brain thing, what I'm getting at is the brain stuff is not just important for child development. Like I was able to explain to my husband that at the end, after both sides, she had two major strokes after the brain was basically not functioning anymore. The only thing that was functioning was her cerebellum and her brainstem. That was the only thing that was telling her heart to beat and her body to breathe. And there was still a little piece of hearing that we believe that she could hear us when we were talking to her, but she was non-responsive. And that's what those parts of the brain. So knowing this is what I'm telling you. Go back and look at it because you never know. I'm not saying that that's going to be part of your story, but this part of understanding who you are and your health and your wellness is not just about understanding kids. Like when a child has a traumatic experience and they hit their head on something, if they have a concussion, then you understand what area of the brain could be affected depending on what they harm. So just understanding the brain is really, truly very important. And chapter 2 takes the brain and all of its mysteries and, in my opinion, does a really good job of making it understandable. So I would dig back into chapter 2 if you didn't quite master that the first time. The heart and the lungs grow and work more efficiently. So what were their heart and lungs doing? Like think about infancy. What is their heart rate for an infant? Go ultrasound. You don't have to tell me a number, but what's it like for a baby? Is it faster or slower? I don't mean to put you on the spot, Nora. I'm so sorry. How was It's actually faster. Their heart rate is going because it's not as efficient. And especially when they're in utero, that thing is going so fast, right? But as they grow, they become to have a little more of a regular heart rate. Steady because the heart is working more effectively. It's pumping blood more effectively because the organ has matured, right? So if we think about it in that way, the heart is having to pump fast to get the blood to go because it's just not a strong muscle yet. But by the time they get to school age, the muscles have strengthened, the organ has increased in strength and efficiency, and it doesn't have to pump as hard. It can pump one strong pump and do what it needs to do. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry I put you on the spot. All right. Lungs are the same way. When you count their respirations per minute, for an adult, it's like 20 respirations per minute, 20 breaths per minute is about normal. For an infant and even a toddler, it's much faster because they don't have big lungs and their lungs are not mature and they got to keep up with the breaths that they need. But as they've gotten to the school age, their breaths per minute look a little bit more like what we need. You chatty.
I ain't even saying nothing. I'm just drinking my tea. Have I said anything?
With your face. As the stomach matures, children experience fewer digestive upsets. So all you school-age mamas that have their babies coming home and saying, my tummy hurts. It's not their stomach. They just don't want to go to school. But in all reality, they are able to withstand a little bit more. Their stomach is stronger. They don't get so upset when they eat something that's not quite agreeable. They can handle it. And their senses improve. All right, puberty. Dun, dun, dun. So puberty is the process by which the body becomes capable of reproduction. It begins in the brain. Highlight it, underline it. Puberty does not begin in your organs down here. Puberty does not start in your uterus. It does not start in your vagina. It starts in your brain. Your brain, this head, tells that boy head what to do. This works. There will be a test question. I almost promise you that there will be a test question that says puberty begins in what organ? If you click reproductive organ, you're wrong. Which stimulates the ovaries. So the brain tells either the ovaries in the females or the testes in the males to produce sex hormones. Everybody starts puberty at a different pace. Some people start way younger, and that can be environmental, it can be genetic. We won't go too far into that. But signals of sexual maturity include the menarche in females, or right here, and the spermarche in males. So that is your first menstrual cycle or their first ejaculation. I think that usually it used to, like, people would start their first cycle like way long, like middle school, high school. And I think now the trend is that it's starting earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yes.
Some of these girls in like 4th grade are getting parts, and that's a sign of some growth and hormones that didn't come from here. It came from the brain releasing those hormones, telling the body that it's time. We live in North Carolina. North Carolina is a conservative state. So North Carolina does not talk about sexual safety. They don't.
You need to.
So
They don't. They talk about abstinence. They're an abstinence first state. Some schools will have a collection of like safe sex tools, and that just depends on population. It depends on school. It depends on preference. When you are in 5th grade in North Carolina, your health conversation, like your sex ed conversation is what they call it, is all about body parts and cleanliness and hormones and cycles. And they usually in 5th grade, most of the time, pull genders apart. And they talk to the boys about boy stuff, and they talk to the girls about girl stuff. And it's usually about your cycle and wearing deodorant and washing your parts. It's not about how to put on a condom and all of that. So what I'm getting at is, as parents, and it's not necessarily your job as a child care provider to give anybody the birds and the bees conversation. It is, if you notice things that are changing and someone's being more interested at school in those parts and other people and their parts, then maybe you just have a conversation with a parent to say, hey, I've noticed this child is very curious about this. Just wanted to let you know, and let the parent do that. because that's not a topic that we really, it is very sad, but I don't want anybody else explaining that to my child. That's my job. Whether other parents do it or not.
They taught me,
They taught me. in
Show me
high
how
school,
we
too.
do.
Primary school.
They taught me in ninth grade, but I
In high
don't,
school,
there are
yeah.
people that do this in fifth grade. There are
Okay.
states that pull
I
kids.
learned in high school.
Michigan pulls kids in fifth grade and talks to them about like penetration in fifth grade.
I don't mind. I taught to my
We
kids
did in
when they was
middle
that
school.
young.
Yeah, middle school.
So we had to have film and
Right. That's
middle school,
sixth or seventh. It's not sixth. It's seventh or eighth.
6,
You're
7,
talking about
8.
penetration in sixth grade?
No, that one was
Like,
8th grade.
In and out? Okay.
No, that one
Thank
8th
you.
grade. But we did do all that other stuff.
Okay.
6, 7.
Moving on. Skeletal growth, they do hit a growth spurt. And they hit them, usually there's certain times that they come, but every child has them, like a 7-year-old, comparing 2 7-year-olds, their growth spurts are gonna come at different times. But around that same time, they're all gonna experience one before they get to the age of 8. And they can happen, it seems like overnight, but they do have an increase in height more so than weight. The bones ossify. What does ossify mean?
Follow?
Nope,
No.
bones don't fall out. They what?
I was
They
thinking about
harden. Ossify means to harden. But they grow larger and longer. So why are they growing larger and longer?
teeth. You got the grape.
Because they're growing longer, because they're growing taller. But why are they growing larger?
So they don't break easily.
So they can support their weight. Like as you grow longer, if you just get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier as you grow longer, then your bones are brittle and they're going to break. But they're growing thicker to be able to support their stature.
I have a question. You said ossify means what?
Strengthen or harden.
Ossify.
Ossify is harden.
Okay.
Children lose their deciduous teeth and grow permanent teeth. The first permanent teeth are the 6-year molars. And this is just a diagram of the teeth. I'm not going to ask you anything about specific teeth. All right, so fat and muscle. Fat accounts for about 15% of an average school-age child's total body weight. Muscles increase in size and strength during middle childhood. Why? Or how? How are their muscles getting stronger? They're more physical. Who said it? Good job, Ebony. And what else? They're more physical, but they're also doing what? They're eating more. As a school-age child, they're hungry and they're eating more. And so if they are, and what? Well, maybe. Drinking milk. If they're, and we're going to talk a little bit about it in a second, but if they're eating those healthy foods, high nutrient foods, then their muscles are growing and not their fat percentage. They may complain of those aches and pains, those growing pains. Sometimes if they have a high growth spurt, sometimes they have those growing pains. And they are called growth pains. It's just caused by the muscle trying to catch up with the bone. All right, so motor development. Large muscle coordination is more refined than the small muscle coordination. So their gross motor is going to be more refined than their small motor. And that's typical pretty much throughout all of life. That's a constant. Around 9 years of age, children begin to develop interest in specific motor skills. So throughout all this time, you might have been putting your child or your kids, exposing them to different things to see what they're good at. Like Bennett has been in tennis, soccer, baseball. I don't even know. Because I just wanted him to pick what he liked, and it ain't basketball. Sorry. It's going to be baseball and pickleball, and he likes tennis too. But those are like, he's good with this kind of sport, not a jumping sport. We're thick. But they're going to start to develop an interest in a specific motor skill. So like maybe a child is like really good at running, and so that's their skill. Sometimes girls, especially like that are really interested in cheerleading and flipping and those kinds of things, they become interested in that specific skill. So they'll start to like notice that and then kind of hone in and sharpen that skill, practice that skill, get better. That becomes a passion. All right, so what is reaction time?
If somebody throw a ball, you gotta hit it. Wow.
Hit it, catch it, whatever. So, I don't see a ball. If I throw something to you and you catch it, that's your reaction time. It also, their precision also increases. What is precision?
Why does it like?
The
Now that I
accuracy.
think about it, yeah.
Yeah, their accuracy. So like they're better at it. So like this little kid is hitting the bat. So like this is some reaction time. He sees the ball coming. He's got to react and swing the bat. But precision would be that his bat makes contact with the ball more frequently than it doesn't. That's precision. Speed and strength. Speed is how fast his bat gets to the ball. Strength is how powerful his bat swings to hit the ball. So if he's a kid that can hit it, he's got some reaction time. If he's hitting it frequently, he's got precision. If he's got speed and strength, he's hitting it past the pitcher's mound, right? Like he's got some oomph behind it. And flexibility is really just their ability to like, you know, stretch, move, be way more limber than I. All right, I'm going to go through the nutritional needs really quickly because I think some of this y'all go over more deeply in health and safety and nutrition with Ms. Jane. But we want to avoid those heavily processed foods as best we can because they have sources of solid fats, lots and lots of preservatives. So salt is a preservative because it makes it last longer, which makes our food cheaper because it doesn't go out so fast. But it's also not very good for us. And then all those added sugars. Sugars can also be a preservative. So things that are preserved based on sugar are also higher in fat content because sugar turns into fat. Healthful eating plans rely on the colorful fruits. So we talked about My Plate before, and there used to be a slogan. I don't know if it's still the slogan, eat the rainbow, not like Skittles taste the rainbow, but like eat the rainbow, meaning have a colorful plate. So you've got some veggies, you've got some green, you've got some grain, you've got some meat. So eating the rainbow. Have y'all ever heard that? No? Okay. And we want to avoid junk foods as best we can. But we also know the reality of our lives in a school age is that they're eating school lunch, which is, in my opinion, still not the best that it could be. I know Michelle Obama's, like, I'm not going to talk about her with you, but she did make it better, but it still has room for improvement.
Yes.
And like you can offer this Michelle Obama lunch, but then when you've got a container of ice cream and slushies and chips and Rice Krispie treats and cookies for a kid who's got money on their lunch account, they're going to get that Michelle Obama lunch. And then they're going to come over here and get one or two different things. And I got to eat my ice cream so it doesn't melt. And then I've got 15 minutes to eat by the time I sit down, and they're not eating the healthy food. So it's just in my opinion, it's not a good idea. But also a school-age kid is usually on the go. Like they're doing extracurricular activities outside of school. So there's got to be some snacks. And sometimes the snacks on the go are not fruits and veggies because they don't stay fresh. And I don't have a fridge in the minivan. So it just doesn't work out that way. We've got chips in the minivan or Cheez-Its or Goldfish. And they're full of preservatives and they're not the best for us. All right, so malnutrition is having too much food intake and it's got that imbalance or shortage of good calories. Overnutrition is just what you would think it was, is you're eating too many calories. Undernutrition is you're not eating enough calories. And your food insecure households are households that are regularly unable to supply healthful meals. I think some of that is pretty self-explanatory. All right, clothing. This is kind of in the same, but a school-age child is going to want to start to use clothing to express themselves. They're going to want to start to pick out their own clothes. They're going to want to start to have clothes that look like how they feel or unfortunately look like their friends. But we also need to make sure that it's secure fit and safely to move about. But their clothes choices are greatly impacted by peer pressure, by what their friends are wearing. So hygiene for school age, their teeth should be kept clean and healthy. Some school agers are hopefully brushing their teeth on their own by now, but there are great timers that you can get for the bathroom. There's fancy toothbrushes that come with timers. There's a cheap one that the boys got for Christmas called Hum, and it has, I haven't hooked it up to the app, but it shows like parts of your teeth that you're missing. And so there are some fancy choices for like different things like that, but I say it was fancy. It wasn't like that. It wouldn't cost more than the bougie pizza.
My bougie pizza costs $19.25.
What does?
My bougie pizza.
And that toothbrush cost about the same. It really was very reasonably priced for what it does. I haven't even hooked it up to the app and it's February, so I'm sorry. But anyways, dental health in our family, my husband's dental health was not the best. And so like the boys had cavities early on, and that wasn't necessarily because they weren't brushing their teeth. Cavities are also linked to genetics. And so I needed them to be doing the things even better to help prevent it. When my husband's got a smile like he's got teeth. Never mind. Okay. He had cavities as a young age. And then, yeah. Pheromones. Pheromones are this body chemical that's produced when it's secreted through sweat. So if you've ever walked in a middle school classroom, it smells like Funyuns and a chili cheese dog at the fair.
I agree. I remember my granddaughters.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, what in the-
Yeah. And some of it, I mean, it's really like they're washing, but it's just, they have a large influx of that hormone. Some of them aren't washing well. I will agree with you, Ebony. And that's why we have to talk to them like very kindly, like, baby, you stink. Like, smell your pit. Like, let's take care of that fish right up underneath there. It sounds like they've got like a fish sandwich. Like, yes.
So maybe if I start saying it to a certain person, they'll start washing more or doing what they're supposed to do.
Do you have a relationship with this person?
I do.
Like a
But
loving relationship?
Yes. When he go take a bath, he only stay in there for like,
2 seconds.
girl. And we like, you did not take a bath. And he
Okay,
like,
so maybe you're rinsing. That's rinsing.
right.
We're not rinsing.
So maybe if I start seeing you stink,
No,
maybe, what do
you
I
got
need to
to
say?
wash.
That don't work.
Is this a
It's my boyfriend.
So
too.
get in the shower
He's
and
9
do it.
years old.
Get in the
He
shower.
gets in the shower, but he don't stay in there long.
I'm telling you to get in the shower. You
No, okay, go ahead, finish. 'Cause we want to see.
teach him. Like, don't wipe his mess, but okay, like model. Teach him.
I ain't going in there.
I told my boys I was going in
His
there when
dad
they
better
tried
go in
it.
there.
I would go right in there.
Oh, I'm not getting them. I have.
I ain't getting in with them. I'm going in there to make sure they wash it.
Yeah. No, I do. Okay, well, don't do that then. Just let him stay.
I mean, I was really just trying to figure out like what would be.
It's a very delicate situation. I'm being funny, but also like, I mean, that's one way to handle it if it is your intimate partner. But
It's
also,
boys.
it's like,
I just think it should learn.
if nobody's ever taught somebody how to do something, people don't know what they don't know. So if their mama just thought that that's what they were doing and they knew how to wash, then mama never stopped it.
It's like,
So
you
people
you
don't know
brush
what they
your
don't
teeth,
know.
Like, why I gotta keep telling you to brush your teeth? I'm tired of telling you to brush your teeth.
Okay, now.
I'll tell him.
I'm
like,
tired of it.
It's just
The
maybe
grown
they're
man?
just
No,
waiting.
the
Not
little boy.
because he's not.
Why do I got to tell you every morning to brush your teeth? Like I tell him, you don't forget that daggone phone, but how you forget to brush your teeth? You know what I'm saying?
Make it like a routine. If you can't
Yeah.
do your daily hygiene, like morning routine, then you know that phone don't get touched.
I had the same issues with my boys.
I
Like
never had
every
a
day.
problem with my
Until
boys.
they got, yeah,
Boys
but
are
girls is different.
Yeah.
Boys is different.
Well,
Like
Heather
my
has-
boys, until they got into girls, that's when they started taking care of their hygiene. When they was younger,
True.
why I got bathed?
And
And
Why
sometimes
sometimes
people
people
say
I
you really just
like
started.
just body
when they get
chemistry.
into girls,
It's
when they,
some with boys
Amazing
like they don't like
smell.
their showers.
girl, I went through the same
When they
thing
go
with
to
my
school,
boys.
them people gonna pick
I
up.
would send them back to the shower
Some
at
baby
least
spray
10
that
times.
stuff on top of their stain. You see what I'm saying?
They didn't really start until they got into girls, middle school, 8th grade, 9th grade. Then they started worried about staying long showers and keeping up with all they stuff. Yeah, girl, no, you don't have to tell them every day.
Boys are different.
Boys are, girls are it's easy.
Is it your boyfriend's 9-year-old or your boyfriend?
It's my boyfriend's son.
Then don't get in the shower.
It's my boyfriend's son. That's why I was like, I'm not getting in the shower.
I thought you were talking about your
No, see,
boyfriend.
my boyfriend, he's really clean. That's why I don't understand how the son is like he is. But I'm
It's a
assuming,
boy thing.
and then not only that, I'm assuming like the girlfriend before me, like maybe didn't care. But I'm showing more like I care, but at the same time, it's like I'm getting tired of telling you the same thing over and over again.
It's a
So
boy
get the
thing.
daddy to talk to him. Okay.
Look, see, when my kids were little, I thought it was something I was doing until I heard another parent at the football game arguing with her son that he would have to go home and take. I thought it was me, but then when I realized it wasn't just me, I felt better.
It is a boy thing.
It's a boy thing.
But
Like
it's
girls
also
is
like-
easy. They want to be clean. Boys don't. They don't care.
You do have to. All right, so rest and sleep. So school-age children need about 9 to 11 hours of sleep nightly. This is scientifically proven. So people, absolutely. So people that are putting their children to bed at 10, 10:30 at night, and then they're making them wake up at 7, 7:30 to get to school by 7:45, 8 o'clock, that's not cutting it. Their body cannot function, and then that affects everything else. A bedtime routine is absolutely crucial. This is the hill that I will always die on. A bedtime routine without technology is always important. Your brain does not function trying to fall asleep to TV. Yes, if this is what we've done for years and years, that might be how your brain works now because it's hardwired to do so. But your brain has a harder time falling asleep when you've just been looking at a screen of some kind. So a bedtime routine without lights, without technology, without TV, without phone is really important for having that bedtime set. So obviously problems that can be caused by sleep deprivation, especially even just like a night of bad sleep or like over time, difficulty concentrating, impaired memory, weakened coping skills, disruption in hormones, inability to execute functions, so like inability to like do things, increased change of mental health problems. So over time, lack of sleep is going to greatly decrease your mental wellness. And school-age children are already doing enough and dealing with enough, especially when they're headed towards adolescence and puberty. Their chemical imbalances can already be out the wazoo. Think about what a teenage girl feels like. They already feel out of control with their hormones, right? If you add a lack of sleep into that, it's setting them up for failure. And then so to help them get the rest and sleep, you set the regular bedtime, get out in the mornings, light for a few minutes each day. Get out in the morning light, sorry. Take digital devices out of the child's bedroom, or just set an expectation that they're turned off at a certain time. Plan a wind down time of 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. So like gaming up until bedtime and then expecting them to stop and pull away from gaming and then go brush their teeth and follow all these directions of all these steps that you've been giving. It's not setting them up for success. And take a child to be checked for sleep if there's these habits that keep continuing. So technology at this point, a school-age child needs to understand digital citizenship. So I did not copy this slide. It was gonna be one slide on a whole piece of paper and I just couldn't handle that. Digital citizenship is like your digital footprint. So at this point, school-age children might start having not necessarily social media, but social gaming, like that Roblox game. And if you play Minecraft, where you can play it socially, Roblox, Roblox. They can like play the game and talk to strangers online if parents don't have that whatever you turn that off. Then the digital citizenship, you need to teach them about talking to others and what strangers can do and that sort of thing. And as in Lenore County Public Schools, and there are standards in the state of North Carolina that require teachers to teach digital citizenship at every grade level. So for each kid and each grade level, it looks very different, but also talk about putting whatever you put online is there. Like talking about Snapchat, like if you send, your mess, somebody's screenshotting it and sending it to everybody. So like the digital citizenship is a conversation that needs to be had. Any questions? All right, if you will. Take one and pass it down. You can go ahead and get started. Closed book, open notes. Sorry, I didn't say that. My bad. Closed book, open notes.